Hello, welcome to episode 1. I'm going to be doing a short series. Short, long, I don't know how long it's going to be. I have no idea. And it's going to keep putting up as things come up, things I think about, things I come across. So far, there's a lot of them. I'm trying to have them in digestible bits about brainwashing, manipulation, false, fake news, how our brain sort of works, how to protect yourself against this kind of thing. So this is all publicly available information. I'm not creating any of this information. I'm not coming up with it. This is all stuff that you can, and I encourage you to research on your own on the internet as well, from, recognized sources. Get hard copies because they're going to start deleting the internet you watch. Anyways, yeah. So psychology is a soft science, and I don't have much respect for soft sciences because it's not real science. It's not repeatable. But, they use a lot of stereotype. I'll make a video on stereotype. But they use stereotype and try to generalize everybody under this thing. And it's not accurate. I mean, you're going to get a bell curve of, this will work on a bunch of people, but it's not going to work the same way on everybody all the time. It's just the same with medicine. It doesn't work the same way on everybody all the time. So that's what I think of the social sciences. There's some validity to stereotypes and archetypes, but they're not reality. They're not everybody. You know what I mean? It's a logical fallacy, the stereotypical thinking, but the soft sciences use it all the time. So go figure. And they're the ones that should know better. Anyway, so we're gonna from some psychology books and research and common knowledge, we'll go over some of this stuff. So this first episode here, we'll just quickly talk about go over how our minds work. Our brains create our eyes create electrical impulses, as do all our senses. So our brain has all these neurons going to it, and then the nervous system. So your touch, your smell, your hearing, your taste, all your senses are just electrical impulses that get sent to your brain, and your brain digests all this information and it hallucinates a reality. Now you might think, well, that's crazy. You don't hallucinate reality. Well, it is. All this, everything you see or your consciousness is in your head. It's not existing out here. They've done CAT scans on people's brains, and when you look at, say, a tree, only half of your brain is using the optical part of the seeing of the tree. The other 50% is your memory. So when you look at a tree, your eyes are looking at it, gathering some information, some data about that tree, and then the rest of the information, maybe the details of the bark or the leaves or whatever, all that stuff, is you're going from memory, from when you were up close and you saw trees, before in your past. Your experiences have told you that bark is probably like this, it's probably like that. So then you're going to make assumptions based on your memory, and you're just going to fill in that data. So that tree is not what you see. It's actually exists in your mind, and different people will see different trees based on their memory. So you're going to have, generally, everybody's going to see this, probably the same outline, but then maybe not. I mean, it depends. That's the arguments come out because people think they see something, but a lot of their vision is actually fabricated. Well, all their vision, 100% of what you see is actually fabricated in your mind by your mind. You're getting the data that's coming in, but you're using these stereotype or archetype trees or whatever, and you're filling in that data. So it's pretty bizarre if you think about that. So, I mean, at first it sounds like insanity to say that you're hallucinating reality, but that's real what's going on, So there's the first point. So reality is being fabricated in your mind, and it's not 100% accurate. It's not 100% representation of everything that's going on, because there's so much data happening out there. There's, the fire hose of information. It's just blasting of, like the details of the tree, the birds, the stuff that you're not really paying attention to. What kind of bird? Is there a bird? Do you even notice the bird? You hear the bird? Maybe you don't notice the bird. So there's all that information that your brain is just disregarding. It's because there's too much information to go on at one time. So the first point here is that your brain hallucinates your reality in your mind. So it's a fabrication that your brain has made, and that's a lot of that fabrication is made from your past experiences. So when you're younger, you see a tree, you're up close, you're looking at the ants on the tree. So then when you see a tree from the distance, you're going to know that tree, oh, you see the quotes, you're going to know what that bark looks like on that tree, even though that tree could be a cardboard tree. And that's how you could fool people, by making a fake tree. They're just going to assume that that's the real tree. When you look at it, they say, oh yeah, that's a tree. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a cardboard cutout. Till you get closer, you're like, oh wow, I could have swore that was a tree. Yeah, you could have swore that was a tree because your brain's fabricating your reality. So we can be duped, because what's going on in your brain is not 100% representation. It is not. It's not reality. It's a facsimile of reality that your brain's creating based on your past experiences. And everybody has different past experiences. Everybody's experiencing reality slightly differently. You always talk about, people here in a car accident. A lawyer will see, the accident different from, a mother will see the accident different from a mechanic. We'll see the, everybody sees different things, and that's part of the thing here. Anyway, so our mental framework based on our experiences, our guesses as we get older, well, it doesn't matter if we're getting older, our experiences are based on these guesses that we make about reality around us, and all this collective experience of guesses, and sometimes testing those guesses and sometimes not, is called your schemata, your mental framework, how you perceive reality around you. When you talk to a person, all your biases and all this other kind of crap, not everybody has different biases, if they do or if they don't. Some people, and that's a problem with the social science as well, is they make a lot of assumptions, stereotype about people, assuming that everybody sees things a certain way. No, obviously not every. Here I go. I'm making stereotypes about the psychologists that are making stereotypes. So, obviously not all psychologists do that, but it happens a lot. The science is pretty much based on stereotype, which is, I know they're probably, if any of them ever watch this, which they probably won't, they'll be like screaming at me, it's not based on, it's pure science. It's not science. Science is repeatable, and it's not repeatable because different people see things differently. Different people, it's like medicine. Different people react differently to different medications. Different people react mentally to different situations. I'm sure different treatments for different people, PTSD, some people experience two different people could experience the exact same thing in battle, and one person will get PTSD and the other person will shrug it off, and it's like, well, I was expecting it to be gory and guts and stuff, and the other person was like, the battery's going dead. I don't know how much time I got. The other person will be like, well, I wasn't, and the other person will be like, well, I wasn't expecting that, and so now they got PTSD. So our mental framework is based on what's called heuristics. Heuristic is just you may read the definition of heuristic. It's any approach to a problem that employs a practical method that is not guaranteed to be optimal, perfect, or rational, but it's sufficient for reaching an immediate short-term goal. So heuristics is just your best guess. Your guess could be wrong. That's how we operate. We operate on guesses. And if we don't test our guesses, then, we could be wrong. Even if we test our guesses, with that test, our guess work, but there might be tests where that same guess doesn't work. So we are pretty vulnerable to manipulation by people who know this. So your first defense is to realize that your brain is fabricating a lot of things. You may not hear things properly. You may not say things properly. You may think you said something, but you didn't say it, or you didn't say it right. The wrong words came out. You misspoke, and another person might actually mishear what you say. So you may have said it properly, and they misheard it. But there's a problem in people's brains and taking in reality, taking in information. Sometimes it's not accurate. Sometimes it is. But we're vulnerable to inaccurate assumptions. And that's something you need to be aware of, that you could be wrong. The number one thing you can do, if you do nothing else, if you don't watch any of the other videos I make, the number one thing you can do to help protect yourself against being manipulated, brainwashed, is to assume that you could be wrong. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. We all could be wrong, and we all are wrong at different times. That's a critical first step. People who think they're never wrong are the people that are the easiest to manipulate, or one of the easiest types of people to manipulate, because once you get it in their head, they'll hold on to it forever. They'll hold on to being wrong for the rest of their life. Anyway, so another point to think of is that nobody is misleading you for your benefit. They're going to mislead you for their benefit. The chance of somebody, unless it's a parent with their kid, they're going to try to protect them. But the state or anybody else, an advertiser or a political party, they're not out for your interests. I don't care who they say or what they say, especially if they say they are. Chances are they're not. I mean, nobody is going to manipulate you for your benefit. So this one is about we make assumptions, we truncate reality, we hallucinate reality, and manipulators know this and they can attack you. And a defense against that is knowing that exists. That's how our brains work, and that you could defend yourself against this. There's a lot of things you need to know, but just to start to know, the biggest thing is to know that you could be wrong, and you can be wrong a lot. We're all wrong, and question everything, but don't be a skeptic and not believe the truth, and don't be a naive person and believe the lies. You need to be somewhere in between. Be skeptical of everything, but don't believe everything. I mean, don't disbelieve it. Test it against things. And the things we're going to test it against is logical fallacies, and knowing the biggest hurdle is to know that you can be wrong. So I think the camera's about to die. So just know that you could be wrong, but don't allow that to be used against you as well. So it's a really, you're swimming with sharks. There's a lot of crap going on out there. So stay tuned, and we'll get through this. This will give you a much better base than not knowing, and you'll realize how much you are being lied to by everybody. Not every single person, but politicians. You'll see the techniques they're using. You'll see in advertising. You'll see everywhere, almost everywhere. Not everybody lies to you. Everybody lies, but not everybody's trying to manipulate you to take advantage of you. That's, being crazy, but, there are nice people. But even nice people lie to you. Even nice people manipulate you. We manipulate ourselves, and that's the thing, too, to be aware of. Sometimes we use these techniques unconsciously against ourselves, and you don't want to be feeding that monster, and that's what happens. You could see people who fed the monster, and they start getting overly worked up over, hate over a politician, and, they fed the monster when they're, instead of rationally sitting back and, not being emotional about things. They fed the monster, and you could see the results. So I got tons of stuff we're going to talk about in other videos. So stay tuned, and see you next video.